G'day folks, in today's video we're going to give you a look at what we thought was an ick infestation, turned out to be something else, how we're treating it, and also give you a bit of a gander at how we harvested some fish and a general system update. So the other day while tending the fish, Bianca's younger and keener eyes spotted a couple of white dots on some of the fish, which got us a little bit concerned. So we immediately thought it could have been the start of an ick infestation. Happily it turns out it wasn't, but I'll give you a couple of pointers on treating ick in a minute. We dropped in the underwater cam and it looked more like there was a couple of raised bumps and lesions on the fish. And now they have bitten each other in the past, but it didn't look like that. So we're a little bit confused as to what it could be. But after speaking to Bruce the Perch Man, he's the expert with jade perch in particular, we've come down to a hypothesis that it could have been some sort of a nondescript parasite that has infected the fish. But anyway, we'll get to that in a minute. So just quickly, we will run through how you can treat fish for ick in your aquaponic system. The best way is to try and speed up their life cycle if you can. So that means bringing the water temperature up to around about 27, 28 degrees Celsius, which is around 80 degrees Fahrenheit from memory. And that speeds up their life cycle, brings it down to a matter of days rather than possibly over a week. And because we're heating up the water, it is a good idea to make sure you have ample oxygen flowing into the system, which is what we've done here. We've added in an extra air line, as well as added on one of the Venturis that I sell, just to add as much oxygen into the water as we can, because warm water doesn't hold dissolved oxygen as well as cool water. The next thing I've done is salted the system to 4 parts per thousand. So for us people using metric, that's very easy. It's 4 kilogram salt per 1,000 litres of tank system water. And the salt that I use is just everyday common pool salt. It's a dried sea salt. I weigh that out, dissolve it in some water first, and then pour it in the system. Now what that does is it doesn't affect the ick on the fish itself, because it's protected by the slime coat, but once it breaks off to reproduce, it is vulnerable because they're basically encapsulated in a little sac, and that sac dries out due to the high salt content of the water, and you can kill off the ick infestation. So because you may have ick in different stages of its life form on the fish itself, it pays to run the high salt level for a week or two, just to make sure you can knock them all out of the system, knock them off, and then you can slowly reduce your salt levels again. Just another thing to keep in mind is if you don't have ick in your system and you are adding new fish into your system, there is a chance there that you may be introducing it on contaminated fish, either you bought in an aquarium or from a hatchery. Most hatcheries are disease-free though, if they want to stay in business. So it does pay to give them a bit of a quarantine time in a system that is highly salted, just to make sure that you can break that life cycle of the ick if there is any on them. Now, as it turns out, after describing what we had to Bruce the Perch Man on our little travels, which I'll tell you about in a tick, he's more inclined to think that what we have is some other nondescript parasitic infection just living under the skin of the fish, causing those little lumps. The reason they look a little bit white is possibly because the scale's been moved and the camera's just picked it up as a white lump. Similar life cycle, basically a parasite's on the fish themselves, then they need to reproduce, so they need to leave the fish. That's when they're vulnerable to the salt. The salt will dry them out and kill them off. So we pretty much will just going to continue with the treatment we've got going for the time being, and check back in 3 or 4 weeks and see if, we've seen a reduction on the lumps on the 1 or 2 fish that are left in here. These parasites are common in the wild, so if you do eat freshwater fish caught in the wild, wherever you are in the world, there is a chance that you have eaten a fish that has had this sort of infestation in it. It's just a bit puzzling as how it's happened in our system here. As Bruce suggested, probably some bird has deposited something in a grow bed, and it's gone through one of the snails or slugs we've had in there through a stage of its life cycle, and then being able to attach itself to a fish. We will be seeing a little bit less nitrate going through the system, but that's all right because there's already far too much in there. I do have a few concerns because I know some of the plants I've got in there, like the ginger, doesn't like salt. We've got some black turmeric in there as well, so it'll be interesting to see how they go through the system. Also too, the little catfish down in there, oh, you can't really see him, just went into the shadows. He's got no sign on him whatsoever. He looks perfectly fine. And like I said, the majority of these guys look fine as well. We can't see any dots on them. But yeah, a couple that I pulled out yesterday, you could definitely see some signs of infection. Pays to be safe rather than sorry. So yeah, that's why I've gone a little bit over the top. As to how I harvested these guys, well, we used a line technique this time round. The first one was taken out with a grasshopper on a hook, and the rest were pretty much well baited with some mealworms. Now we managed to get 8 out using the line technique before they got a bit shy, so the rest came out using the net. When I weighed out the fish, they were anywhere from 600 up to 1100 grams, which are fairly large fish for a small 1,000 litre tank. Ideally, I should probably have no more than 40 fish in here. I could stretch it to 40, but only 500 grams in size, so a lot smaller than most of the fish that I pulled out of here. This time round, I decided to fully process them before popping them in the freezer. That means removing their skin, removing the fins and the tail and the head, of course, and the guts. Try and fillet a couple, didn't work out too well, a little bit wasteful. So that's why I've pretty much all gone with the whole process frame technique this time round. Pretty much all getting them ready just to throw into a pot with some curry sauce, or maybe just throwing in the oven after encrusting in some nuts or something like that and baking them that way. There are no lumps on any of them. I was very meticulous to make sure there wasn't any infestation in the skin and the guts themselves. So those fish are fine to eat, keeping in mind that they will be cooked very well, so there will be no parasites left alive that can infest us, so I'm not concerned about that whatsoever. The system itself, still haven't pulled out those amaranths. They're just going to be pulled out and pretty much all composted, because I'll show you why in a minute. The basil, this stuff here still hasn't been touched. I haven't got around to editing the basil video yet, sorry folks. I was actually going to make an alternate version with macadamia nuts, toast them and use them in the pesto, because that's how I like to make it. I just haven't been to the shops or anywhere where I've seen decent macadamia nuts. But the system's, can't complain whatsoever. Time is going really well. These little buggers, there's those cluster caterpillars having a feast on these onions. I think I might just pull that off and give that the stomp treatment. But we've got some more around the sides. These things here, I mean, look at the way they grow back. They just grow back so well. We really should harvest some more of these. Kira keeps threatening to use them in her cooking, but she only takes off a couple of the greens. She's not pulling the whole things off. There's some more of those little cheeky buggers, so just pull them off. Around here, all the bok choy's out and been munched on. We have some, I don't know if you're watching, John, but we have some ripe capsicums or bell peppers. They're the little ball ones that you can stuff with cheese. Bianca realised what they were yesterday and went, wow, I can do my own. So they're got to come off. I just noticed one has been hit by something. That looks like a fruit fly. So this net hasn't been down secured. So I'm going to have to make sure I do that a lot more. Oh, by the way, down here, the lettuce that was down the side there, I saved the seeds from that and just shook it basically over the edge here, the last of the heads, just to see what had happened, and well, this is what happened. We have a load of lettuce. I need to transplant them out and move them around a bit. So there's, spread out a little bit. I think they might be a little bit too jam-packed there. Sorry, there's glare on the screen. I can't even see what was being filmed. The lemongrass is doing really well. First time we've had a decent crack at lemongrass. This section is already divided a couple of times. This one over here is only just now taking off, but it wasn't doing the best when I popped him in. I think having a little bit more light has helped. This is the black turmeric that has taken off. The other one I think died off, and I was a little bit concerned the sun was getting it, but yeah, we'll see. Hopefully it will be okay out here in the full sun. Hopefully the salt doesn't affect it either. Bianca's getting a couple of jalapenos on her plant, which she's chuffed about. She wants to pickle them. This aloe vera needs to be taken out. I need to get rid of this big one and just have those small ones. The phone seems to be glitching. I hope this recording's coming out all right. The reason those other amaranths are going is because we got some volunteers from the big one that was in here. These beans, I actually planted them out the other day. I was going through some PVC fittings trying to tidy up what I've got ready for the new build, and I found just a dried out bean in there from one that must have fallen in there when I was saving some seeds. So I planted out 6 of the seeds, and for the 6 seeds, 2 have germinated and I have no idea how old that bean seed is, so for all I know it could be up to about 8-9 years old. But hey, we've got a couple of plants from it. The ginger, this one here actually looks like it's all dead. He looks like he's gone already. And this one here doesn't look like it's doing much chop. Oh no, we've got a little sprout there. These, from memory, are the smaller Cambodian ones. And just to give you a look what I found over here, we'll bring him into the shade, hey? So these are the cluster caterpillars all hatching from that little frothy cocoon-like thing there. So that's how many you can get in just one sitting from a moth, sitting, laying, whatever, from a moth. So that's why they can be quite devastating. Definitely going to give these guys the squish treatment, I think. And we're back around at the fish. Oh, by the way, I'm not feeding these guys either. The pH at the moment is sitting up over 7 because we popped bicarbonate in the water the other day. Try and get this so you can see it. There we go, 7.4. I think it was 7.5 yesterday, last night. But, oh, there we go, 7.4, 7.5. Basically, because we were going away, which I'll tell you about in a tick, we decided to pop a load of potassium bicarbonate in there to bump it up, expecting the fish to be fed the whole time we're away by our house sitter. And yeah, because we're not feeding them now, it's just going to have to slowly come down by itself, but at least we don't have to worry about monitoring the pH. I'll just get Kira to check it every day when she comes out and does the guinea pigs. So Bianca's on 3 weeks holidays, and we're using that time to do a couple of day trips and head off and try and find locales at places we like to look for property. Bianca's toured Queensland through her work. She knows a lot of these small towns and these small places, but to tell you the truth, I've been on the Bruce Highway, the main drag up to Cairns and back, starting out at Crow's Nest, just north of Toowoomba, going all the way up inland and then across to Bundaberg, and then down the coastal side of the range, or the other side of the range-ish, from where we went up. Just looking for towns and areas, locales that we would like to purchase land in, and stopping at a couple of real estate agents while we're away. So just to get an idea on price and what we can expect. And on the finance side of things, while Bianca's off 3 weeks holiday, I think I mentioned that, we're looking at seeing a mortgage broker that's been recommended to us, who has really helped out some friends of Bianca's. So yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed, within the next 6 to 8 months, we might have another property. It may be a vacant block of land that we just go and visit and slowly build up before we move to, or we might sell up here and move. We just don't know what's on the cards yet until we speak to the mortgage broker. But anyway, yeah, I thought I'd give you guys a bit of a roundup. That's enough of me prattling on. I'll go edit this, upload it for you guys, and I hope you have a fantastic week. Cheers all.